This property on Satilla Drive in southern Georgia has become a centerpiece in the controversy surrounding the death of Ahmaud Arbery. The home under construction is the place Arbery was seen that day on camera and by a neighbor who called 911.
And you said someone's breaking into it right now?
No, it's all open. It's under construction. And he's running right now. There he goes right now.
Soon after being spotted at the house, he was shot and killed just about a block away. But prior to the February 23rd shooting, there had been 4 or 5 instances of a person entering this property without authorization at night.
My cameras would notify me I would be 2 hours away, and my cameras would notify me and let me know somebody was on the property.
Larry English, the owner of the construction site, lives elsewhere and says he was notified 2 weeks before the shooting of a person on his property. English is now sharing this video from February 11th, noting that nothing was taken from the site on this date or any other. But on the same day, a call to 911 was made.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
It's Satilla Drive, 230 Satilla Drive.
What's your name and phone number, sir?
Travis McMichael.
The same Travis McMichael now charged with killing Arbery.
We've had a string of burglaries. I was leaving the neighborhood, and I just caught a guy running into a house being built 2 houses down from me. When I turned around, he took off running into the house.
McMichael tells 911 he tried to confront a black male in shorts and t-shirt, but got spooked when the man reached into his pocket as though he had a weapon.
He's got a flashlight looking through the house. But we've been having a lot of burglaries and break-ins around here lately, and I had a pistol stolen January 1st, actually. You know, I've never seen this guy before in the neighborhood.
2 weeks later, this now viral video captured the next encounter between Travis McMichael and the man he believed was on the property February 11th.
This is a tragedy, and I'm deeply sorry for the family and their loss.
About Ahmaud just visiting the site just to, just look at it,
Akeem Baker is Arbery's best friend. He says Arbery was likely just curious about the unfinished home and stopped in to take a look while out for a jog.
He definitely spoke about becoming an electrician and just picking up a trade and owning his own business.
Something echoed by Arbery's sister in an interview with CNN.
He wanted to be an electrician. That's what he was aspiring to be.
And maybe that answers the question. I mean, it's a head scratcher why he would return to that construction, that house under construction, time and time again over the course of months, but never seen taking anything. Let's bring Chanley Painter in. Chanley, great job in the update, and we've got the new video now, even from a February 11th. And in all of these videos, every time that he is in there or someone who they think is him is in there, nothing's ever taken.
That's right. And I spoke again with Larry English's attorney today, and she affirms that since last October, this has been happening. Larry will get notification on his motion sensor security cameras that somebody is in the home. And she told me today that yes, nothing was ever taken. There may be some plundering around, but no crime is being committed in the eyes of Larry English. He said one time, they don't know if it's the same person every time. They can't say for sure, but they do know that nothing was ever taken. Sometimes it was a couple. There was a man and woman one time caught on security camera since last October. And the last time was February 11th, 2 weeks before the shooting, when Travis McMichael called 911.
All right, so we're still going to be trying to figure out what's going on there. But today we also found out who Travis McMichael's attorney is, a guy named Bob Rubin. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Don't rush to judgment. We will be presenting our evidence in a court of law, whether it's in Glenn County or someplace else. The government will have an opportunity to present its evidence in a court of law. And then, and only then you can judge. No matter how you look at this case, a young man has died, and that is always a tragedy. And that is at the forefront of our minds as we proceed down this road. But that does not mean that a crime has been committed.
All right, Charlie, so now we know who the attorney is, and may be familiar to some viewers who've been watching trials through the years. He had another case in Atlanta, but he's not a Glynn County guy.
No, he's from Decatur, Georgia, and at the law firm there, like you said, veteran criminal defense attorneys. They announced today in a press conference that they were hired by Travis McMichael on Monday. They aren't saying a lot, though. They say that the truth will come out in trial, in the case, in the court hearings. They said the next step for them is to set a hearing to consider bond for Travis McMichael. They also want a preliminary hearing as soon as possible so they can reveal new evidence in front of the judge, hoping that these charges will be reduced or dismissed in some way at the preliminary hearing. Also, we're learning today that Gregory McMichael has also hired a defense team. They're from Macon, Georgia. That's Laura and Franklin Hogue are now representing Travis's father, Gregory McMichael.
All right, and there's also this anonymous note that was left. What do we know anything about that?
Yes, this was interesting. This was something that gained so much inquiries and notoriety that the GBI actually looked into this note. It was left at the shooting location on Satilla Drive, and it said, "Ahmaud, I'm so sorry. I should have stopped them. I'm so sorry." Well, people were wondering who wrote this letter, and the GBI said that they looked into it. They announced this on Twitter today that they identified the individual who wrote the note. The individual was not connected with Ahmaud Arbery's investigation in any way, and the person was just expressing their condolences for Arbery's death. But again, they received so many inquiries that they wanted to make this update public and remind us that the investigation is still ongoing.
All right, Chanley Painter, thanks so much. Let's bring in the rest of the crew, Ashley Banfield, Julie Grant, and Ted Rollins. Ashley, let me start with you. Something I heard in Chanley's piece tonight, talking about trying to answer a question that we've been talking about. Why would he return over and over again to this construction site? Now you've got his good friend and his sister talking about him being or wanting to be an electrician. I mean, could it be as simple as that? Curiosity, I want to be an electrician. I'm going to watch the process of how they do things when they're building a house.
Yeah, I mean, look at the video that you're showing right now. It certainly looks as though that could be very plausible. I was fascinated at the house across the street, and I did the same thing that Ahmaud's doing right now. I walked in and I took a look around. I wanted to see how they were going to change up, the existing structure. I think where the critics will come in, and certainly the McMichael's lawyers will seize upon, is the video at night and the 911 call at night, where Travis McMichael is the 911 caller. And almost 2 weeks prior to the shooting, he is saying there's someone with a flashlight who's in there at night. And he also says on the 911 call, he actually articulates it in a way I couldn't tell you last night. I had a transcript, and it wasn't an accurate transcript. It was the operator. It wasn't McMichael's voice. And now we know through McMichael's voice, he says he reached into his pocket as though he were armed, and he was very nervous about it, to the point where the operator said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Well, I think he might be armed, so you should know that." So those are the things that will be seized upon. The fact that there's one of the entries is at night with a flashlight, which would speak less to I'm interested in the electrician aspect, and more to it's just odd. It's a very odd moment, and it was a moment where Travis McMichael intersected 2 weeks before the shooting.
And Julie Grant, the other part of that phone call is you hear in the phone call, it seems that there's a whole bunch of people from the neighborhood there. Police show up, but I don't think anything ever came of it. I mean, if there was someone in the house, and we saw the video that Chanley showed us tonight that, looked like someone walking through the house, looked like Ahmaud. I didn't see a gun in his hand. But at the end of the day, nothing happened. So it seems to me this is so much like George Zimmerman, where the first time he spotted that burglar, he got away, and then the second time he spots him, he takes the law into his own hands. It's so similar to me, Julie.
Yes, agreed. And the one thing that jumped out to me in his language is that he used the word he's armed. He may be armed. That word armed, not he has a gun. I think he's got a gun. This is a civilian. And that's kind of like police speak when I heard that. And I think that phone call can really be used by the prosecution in sort of establishing the state of mind on February 23rd, that these are men who perhaps feared Ahmaud Arbery would be armed, jogging through that neighborhood, would be armed again in that house. So I think that's a favorable fact to the prosecution. Another really favorable fact is what we learned today, that he was aspiring to become an electrician. If I'm the prosecution, I'm going to elicit that from as many fact witnesses as possible and weave that throughout this story, because so far the one thing that's been somewhat unfavorable, or that sort of cast an unfavorable light, is that he was perhaps trespassing, at best a misdemeanor in the state of Georgia, but still breaking the law according to what we can tell from this video. So if they can wrap their arms around that fact and introduce it, I think this will really take a lot of the sting out and be excellent for the prosecution, Vinny.
Ted, you did an unbelievable job breaking down the viral video of the actual shooting. How much weight do you think that has in the eyes of a jury in trying to figure out state of mind of the shooter and his father versus all these prior videos that they had seen of someone walking around that home under construction?
I think they work in conjunction, and I disagree with Julie that I think this is also something that the defense can use, the fact that they thought that he might be armed, because you're going to you need to put yourself in their mind, right? The McMichaels, they want to be the neighborhood heroes because everybody's talking about somebody has been lurking around the construction site, and boom, now they see someone and oh, here we go, come on boy, get your gun because we think he's armed and let's get him. Let's be the heroes. I've got law enforcement experience and you can, this is the mindset, and the defense is going to say, they didn't mean to hurt anybody. They were just trying to find out who was in the neighborhood, and the scuffle ensued. That's where they used the video, and the trigger was accidentally pulled. This turned into a mistake. I get it. People are shaking their heads saying that's ridiculous. That, I guarantee you, is going to be part of the defense.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a defense. We know it, and we heard it today. All right, I'll be speaking with all of you as we march through the next 3 hours here on the program.